Hey guys, what's up? I guess most of you know me, but for those of you who don't, my name is Jan and I'm co-founder and co-owner of Move to Prague Relocation Experts, immigration company you will fall in love with, just because we're lovable. We've been in the business of relocation, like dealing with all types of visas and finding you long-term accommodation and setting up for the health insurance and everything for almost 10 years now. And we face the same problem every year, that some of our clients have their taxes done wrong. It sometimes happens to clients who come to us from other agency. They used someone else to get them the first visa. They were not happy with them, and they come to us for the extension. Sometimes it happens to our own clients as well when they decide to use someone else for their tax return instead of the person who we recommend. For whatever reason, either the school or their company recommends someone, or the price is different, or whatever reason, but it happens that your taxes are not always done correctly. And if your like residence in the Czech Republic is based on your income and being able to prove it that your income is high enough, then it could be a pretty big problem for you if your taxes are not done in the right way. Because then your residence permit application can be denied, you can be like sent back home, and you need to start over from the long-term visa and basically lose all the years you've been here for. So it's very important to do your taxes right. Especially, I mean, this video is mainly meant for people from outside of the EU, and especially for freelancers or someone whose visa is based on their tax return. So mainly like freelancers and business visas. And the purpose of this video is to give you an idea, or like give you a way to check your taxes, to follow up with your accountant, whoever that is, to see if the taxes is being done the correct way, so you will not have any problems with extending your residency, or if there is something you should be aware of and you should change. So let's jump right into it. Let's first see how the Ministry of the Interior calculates your income. They do it this way. They take your tax base, which is your incomes, total incomes for a year or for whatever period of time. They deduct your expenses, and that's the tax base. Then from the tax base, they deduct the total social security you paid throughout the year, and they also deduct the total healthcare you paid if you're part of the public healthcare. For example, Americans have to pay both the social security and the healthcare, the public healthcare. So in that case, the ministry deducts everything. If you don't have to pay the public healthcare, if you have the private one, then this part doesn't apply to you. And also they deduct the tax, the income tax you pay. That gets you to your total net income. Then the ministry deducts the total income by the number of months of your trade license was active. So if it was 1 year, then they deduct it by 12 or divided by 12, and that gets you to your net monthly income. And then they compare your net monthly income with this number. I'll get to how it's calculated in a second, to this number, and if your income is higher than that, you're fine and you will get your residence permit, given that all the other documents are correct. If it's lower than this amount, then you will not get the residency because you're not meeting the basic requirement. This number looks like really low. If you freelance here, then you would not probably survive with 12,000 crowns a month because you probably pay more for your accommodation. But I'll show you on the next slide that it's easy to get like way below this, just if you do your taxes in the wrong way. Just now to give you a bit of explanation how this number is calculated, it's a combination or sum of something called livable minimum. That's some kind of like a theoretical number of money, Czech crowns, with which you should be able to survive for 1 month. So yeah, I don't know how they calculate it, but they say that 3,860 for one person living alone is enough to survive. Plus then they add your housing expenses. So if the ministry knows your real rent you're paying, so for example, if you apply for the residence permit and you're submitting your lease agreement where they can see the amount of rent, they will calculate with the real rent. And then, of course, if your rent is higher than this number, then this total monthly income will increase as well. But if you don't show them your lease agreement, if you use, for example, just the proof of accommodation form as your proof of accommodation, they will be calculated with some general amount of money given by some directive, by some law. So for one person to make this example work and make it easy, for one single person living alone, the general amount for housing expenses is 8,775 crowns a month. So if you combine these two numbers, you get to the minimum you need to be making on a monthly basis. If you're not a single person, if you're a family or you're a couple and you're considered together for your application, we created a special blog post where we describe those in details for like families and singles and couples and everyone, all the possible scenarios. So go to the link in the description under this video and you can read more about like these amounts and this calculation. But let's go back to the example, how easily you can get below that number if your taxes are not done correctly. Okay, so an example. If, let's say you've been working for a full year, 12 months, and your total income was 350,000 crowns, that's your tax base. Then the Ministry of the Interior takes this number, 350,000 crowns, and they deduct your total social security you paid and your total health insurance you paid throughout the year. Those numbers will be slightly different because the social security, in real life, because the social security is higher than the healthcare payment. But just to make it simple, let's say these are the yearly total payments. So they deduct this. Just a second, sorry for that. You see that this is a live take. So they deduct the total social security and total healthcare, and they get to the total net income for the full year. Then they divide it by the number of months. So that's 12 months for a full year, and they get to 25,000 crowns as your net monthly income. As you see, 25,000 crowns is way above the 12,000 something you need to be making officially. So if your taxes look like this, you're fine. But what often happens if you use an accountant or tax advisor who is not experienced with taxes for expats, and there are some companies from whom you would expect that they know how to do taxes for expats, but they actually don't. So be careful about that. Most accountants use this. This is a rule or deduction 60-40. If you talk to your accountant, they for sure know what you will be talking about, because that's like a standard thing to do for Czech citizens. This basically means, the 60-40 rules means that you deduct 60% of your incomes as your expenses. You don't have to prove anything, you can just do that. It's given by the law, you can do that. But if you do that, it means basically two things. First thing is that you will be paying lower taxes because your tax base will be lower. On the other hand, if you're a foreigner and your visa or residence permit is based on your income, you can get into serious trouble. Because how it works is that you have the same income, 350,000 crowns a year, but then you deduct 60% of your incomes as your expenses, so your net income, the tax base, will only be 140,000 crowns. And then the ministry does the same thing. So they deduct the 25,000 for your social security, 25,000 for your healthcare, and you get to 90,000 crowns as your total yearly income. And if you divide 90,000 by 12, then your monthly income is only 7,500. And that's way below the 12,000 something you need to be officially making. So like in real life, you earn the same amount of money. It's like 350,000, 350,000. But just based on the way you do your taxes, you either qualify for the residency or you don't. So this is very important, and definitely double check with your accountant if like what approach they're using, and just make sure that you're above the minimum we discussed before. It's kind of like simple, but again, if you use some accountant who's not experienced with taxes for expats, they will do it most likely this way, because that's the way how they do it for Czech citizens, to just save as much as possible on taxes and social security and everything. So you need to be very careful about this. Yeah, that's it basically. This was the whole video just to explain you how this works. If you have any questions about that, please go to the article I was referring to, so which is somewhere below the video in the description, or of course get in touch with us. We will be happy to recommend, either answer some questions regarding this, or we'll be happy to recommend the accountant we work with, because he's experienced with taxes and we've been working with him for, this is our 3rd season I believe, so he knows everything about this, and if you go through him, then you just have no problems with that, and you don't need to even think about it. So hopefully this was helpful. Thank you. If you like this, please feel free to share it, feel free to like it, comment it, we'll be happy, and hopefully this will make you stay in the Czech Republic. Thank you guys.